All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we got 4LOM in the game, and in 2 weeks we're gonna be getting Zuckuss. These are two dark side rebel bounty hunters. They're two dark side bounty hunters hunting rebels in The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, so the reason that we're covering these characters, and they're different than other marquees potentially, is that these ones have an era battle coming up. If we switch on over to the post from CG, we got the era Deadly Pursuit, and they cover an era battle that's coming called Analysis Paralysis down here. And it says 4LOM and Zuckuss pursue the rebellion's greatest heroes through the environments from Empire Strikes Back. So the hope is that only 4LOM and Zuckuss are required, and we don't need Rogue One and Rebel B-Wing. Now, just based on this, the safe assumption, the normal assumption would be that we only need these two characters. However, CG isn't always the most clear. So I didn't wail on episode 1 Rogue One and Rebel B-Wing. So if those are required, I'm going to be very sad and be very mad at CG because this doesn't say anything about this. And I specifically asked Meathead to get that information, and he said he was unlikely to be able to get that information and post that. That being said, my hope is that only 4LOM and Zuckuss are required. I don't think they want to integrate ships into the whole nonsense with the air battles. They had a hard enough time doing Hondo and a different version of Hondo and the Pirate King Hondo tier, and then only requiring marquees and not conquest characters. So I'm hoping they take the easy way and just leave this to 4LOM and Zuckuss. This wouldn't be absolutely crazy. We had another era battle, our second one, Crimes Against the Republic, that only had 2 characters required. In that it was Deepa and Temple Guard, and then you got the legendary. Now here we don't necessarily have a legendary, but still nonetheless, this is the goal of why we are going to be taking 4LOM to 7 stars with the marquee event. We want these 2 characters so we can take advantage of all the goodness that the era battle brings. The air battle usually is very worth it if you can get in there cheap and there's a reason for the characters. Here there's not so much a reason for the characters, but with it only being 2, if we can still get all the rewards from the air battle for only 2 R9s, I think it'll be worth it, at least for me and the stage that I'm at the game. You may not be at the stage in the game. You might have other things that you want to invest in, totally understandable. For me at this moment, I don't have any of those things. So let's go ahead and look at the math real quick and determine why I think this makes sense to do, at least for somebody in my position. Okay, so this is our calculator that we got. Link in the description for the spreadsheet if you want to look at it yourself. You'll have to make a copy if you want to edit things for yourself. But essentially, this is a marquee tracker. It's an episode pass tracker. It's an era battle tracker. And it ultimately determines the value of the marquees and whether or not you're getting value over the cost of the marquee, right? Depending on how much you have to spend. So in this case, this is everything that the marquee is going to provide, right? It provides all these things. These are the quantities. Then this is the actual crystal value, or the crystal value in shipments and things. Then this is the actual value. This is what I would prescribe the value to. So for your own calculations, you'll need to go ahead and edit these numbers according to what you think they are, right? So I don't need carbonite circuit boards, but if you're somebody who regularly buys the 500 crystal relic amplifier pack, then those are actually a value of 3.5 crystals per carbonite circuit board that you're paying for. So if you're going to get value out of those, you would have to enter 3.5 here, and then that changes the calculation over here, right? But again, each person is going to have to do that on their own, because I can't tell you what these things mean to you. For some people, zetas mean a lot more, and people spend 250 crystals a piece. So the math obviously changes drastically if you're going from 25 to 250. Or if you value electrium conductors anywhere near crystal values, and middle data cards, those types of things, right? So this is just what I value the things at. I mostly only value Omicrons, zetas, and then signal data, right? So that's what you'll have to determine yourself, but that's going to go to the total item value is the crystal value times the quantity. Then the total actual value is what I've determined my values are times the quantity, right? So this is the total of actual value for me. then this is the total actual value times 2 marquees, because we're going to have to do this twice, right? Okay, so this calculator also works if you unhide these columns right here. I can just quickly unhide them. There's a way to do that, but if I just click that, yeah, okay. So this shows for 6 marquees and 4 marquees if you need to do this analysis for a different event where you had more marquees, right? But since we only have 2 marquees in this episode, in this era, we're only going to look at those ones. So we're going to go ahead and hide those again. Okay, so once we have this is just from the marquee event. There's nothing else special tied up in here. But if we were to invest in these 2 marquee characters from the beginning and 7-star them in the first week, we're going to get added benefits, right? So for example, I'm going to purchase the episode pass because the episode pass is going to give me 20 shards of both 4LOM and Zuckuss, which is going to speed up this whole process. $20 is a great value for what you get, because you don't only get those shards, you also get all of the benefits that come from the episode pass, right? So this was for the Rogue One ship, but you replace this with 4LOM. Okay, then you're getting massive amounts of episode currency. You're getting keypads, Zeta materials, arrow magnifiers, droid brains, which is the biggest thing and the most common thing. I think you get 8 total droid brains. You might get 4. Can't remember exactly. But in any case, it's just a bunch of added value to the... Oh, yeah, it's a bunch of added value to the already worth it, in my opinion, shards that you're getting to help you go ahead and 7-star a character, right? So that's ultimately why I'm getting the episode pass. So when we calculate that in, it also gives you some event quests. If we go back over and look at the game, you're going to be able to get these things from the quests, right? So let's go ahead and look at the game real quick. Where are these stored? I think they are stored over here in quests. The character quest, right? So because we're 7-starring the character in the first week, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of these 2 Zetas and all these quests, which is more episode currency, which is more crates at the end of the day, but we're not going to put too much emphasis on that because that's diminishing value as you get more and more of it, right? But arrow magnifiers, Zetas, Omicron, and a droid brain, so it's actually even more droid brains, right? So that's even more value, and that's what the spreadsheet is taking all into consideration with this portion of it, right? And then we're also gonna do this twice because we have another character coming out, which is Zuckuss, and he's gonna have similar character quests when he comes out. Then we have the era battle itself, okay? And this is using entirely the numbers from previous era battles that didn't really change between the previous 3 era battles that we've had. What did change was the end tier, right? So with both Crimes Against the Republic and Raiders of the Outer Rim, they had an additional tier at the end of the era battle, which would require Jedi Master Mace Windu and then Pirate King Hondo. Those provided 2,000 crystals per tier. So when you finished out, you got an extra 20,000 crystals for taking that character up to R9 and using it in the air battle. Here, it's unlikely that we're going to have that tier, in my opinion, because we don't have a legendary or GL. We don't have any journey guide character that we know of to go ahead and apply that tier for. So my guess is that it's going to look a little bit more like Nightfall, and we're not going to get that bonus tier. Understand that if we did have any bonus tier like this, it'd be vastly more worth it with an extra 20,000 crystals. However, even without it, I think based on the numbers, it's still a good value, right? So if you do the tiers of the event, right, and you're going to be able to, because you're going to R9 the character once the air battle is here, potentially, maybe not the first one, but definitely the second one, right? Because there's only 2 characters, so they have to be doable with 2 characters, you would think. It gives you Omegas, gives you shard drop currency, bunch of gear, data cards, inbuilt data cards, and arrow magnifiers. The arrow magnifiers could be impulse detectors instead. The Zinbittle data cards are guaranteed usually. And then the last tier of the event, or the second last tier, not the crystal tier, gives you 5 of each keypads, droid brains, and Omicron materials. So those are usually the things that provide the most value. Now, we're looking at 12 era battles here. That's according to the cadence that CG normally goes with. We get 2 every other week, and then we get 2 every other week for 4 weeks, and then we get 1 every other week for 4 weeks, which leads to 12 era battles in total. However, we can't actually use this data potentially because it's highly likely that the Deadly Pursuits air battle comes next week after 4LOM is out and done with the marquee. And it's highly likely, according to previous air battles, that we cannot complete the final tier with 4LOM alone. This might not be the case because 4LOM actually has a leader ability, which usually is something that stops the character from soloing the air battle tier. But even still, if we plan that we're not going to be able to complete it with just 4LOM, we turn this number down to 10, right? Because the following week Zuckuss would be here and then we'd be able to go ahead and complete it. So that drops it down in value in terms of what we're getting. However, the air battle for the Pirates air battle came later. If that happens, then we would have both 4LOM and Zuckuss in game and we'd be able to go back to that 12, right? So that's definitely something to consider. But between the marquee, the episode pass, and the air battle, and then the random stuff, which is like the signal data, we can't really determine exactly what we're getting. This is all based on percentages, likelihood of getting these different signal data. We can have a pretty good idea of what the total value of stuff that we're gonna get is worth, right? So we change this to 10 because I think that's the most likely situation, right? And then this is the total actual value, and then this is based on multiple marquees. Now the reason why this number doesn't jump up a huge ton is because the bulk of the value is coming from the era battle, right? So that's why this doesn't get multiplied just because we get a second marquee. The only thing extra that we're getting here is the second set of marquee benefits, right? So that all being said, the total value of stuff you're gonna get is about 37,000 crystals, right? Well, now how much does it cost to take 2 marquees to 7 stars on the first week of the marquee? When we look down here, we got a calculator, right? So we get 20 from the episode pass, 55 for the first time doing tier 1 of the marquee event, right? We'll swap back over to that real quick to demonstrate what I'm talking about. We go into get shards, go to the marquee event. Okay, so you get 55 from here, and then you're gonna get 10 from the second one. That's only the first time though, and then there's no other shards the rest of the time you do that tier. This is what most people do when they're not spending on the marquees at all. Then when you get to tier 3, 4, and 5, you get 5 shards for the first time, and then an additional 5 shards every day the event goes. So that would be today, and then so on and so forth. And just to see that the extra tiers have the shards, you can see right there, and then right there, right? So all in all, what this means is when we go back over to the math, right, we're going to be able to get 5 the first time each of those tiers, and then we're going to get 35 total throughout those 7 days. These are the first time shards, and then these are the daily shards. So we need to spend about 19,000 crystals per character after the episode pass in order to get the 2 characters unlocked. Times 2, this is about 38,000 crystals. Okay, these are the numbers for 4 marquees and 6 marquees, but 38,000 crystals is about what we're looking at, and the value that we'd get is about 38,000 crystals. So this is pretty much a wash in terms of value. We're spending the crystals and then we're getting the value, right? So that would be a decent deal because we're breaking even, but we're still adding value to our account overall. Good luck taking that 38,000 crystals and spending it in a different way to go ahead and get value, right? Now, this is just for the shards though. There is added value that we have to put in. If you don't have the stuff to do this, then it's going to be even more costly. But if you've hoarded properly to take 2 characters to R9, then you're going to have to invest those initial resources in going ahead and getting 4LOM and Zuckuss to Relic 9, right? So that's all the signal data, that's all the droid brains that you already have. And then you would go ahead and be able to do the event. So it's basically like doing 2 R9s and then getting 3 R9s for the cost of 37,000 crystals, essentially. Okay, now That's the total cost of what we get from the air battles, the marquees, and the episode pass. But there's a little bit of a hidden value in here, okay? So when we go down and look at the 7-star marquee farm calculator, this is not buying it on day one, right? This is if you were to go ahead and get the free shards for the marquee and then wait a month, or, well, no, you wait 3 months until it comes out and becomes free to play farmable. Then you find the node and then you do the refreshes on the node every day in order to go ahead and get your 2, 3, 5 shards, whatever it is, how many ever refreshes you're doing. And then over the course of, probably 2 months of farming that, you'll be able to go ahead and get that character 7 stars. There's a cost wrapped up in that people don't realize because they're just doing it anyway, right? So oftentimes you don't think about that cost, but if we 7-star the character on day one, we don't have to pay that cost anymore. So that is a little bit of a refund on what we're paying. So most people in my position are going to do at least 1 refresh to get a new character to 7 stars. Now with these 2 bounty hunters, there's not any reason to really expedite them, but still people they have the crystals and they kind of want to get it over with and they want to be able to use the character sooner. So they pay the 25 crystals to get a new set of attempts and then the energy, so on and so forth, right? So what this looks at is if you're doing 1 refresh, you're spending 25 crystals a day just to refresh the node. 2 would be 75, 3 would be 125, so on and so forth. These are the days required to get the character that you're waiting to get the character via the farm method, right? And this is just the days that you're going to spend farming it, not the 3 months that you wait for the marquee to go farmable. So you can add 90 days to all these to determine when you're actually going to get to play with the character if you're using the strategy. The total crystal cost is taking the days required and multiplying it by the cost of refreshing the node. This doesn't take into account the energy that you're expending, right? For some of us, we're not going to be expending extra energy. We're not going to be doing energy refreshes. Some people consider, well, you would be doing those normally. There's a whole analysis to that, but this is just looking at the cost to refresh the node, basically. DC 69 versus times 69. So yeah, D times C. There you go. And then this takes the cost away from the cost of the marquee, and in this case, 2 marquees. And this also incorporates the refund that we're getting via the air battle, right? The rewards that we're getting. So it's marquee minus the cost, or the rewards that we get from the marquee event times 2. And then we're subtracting the value that we get. So this is how we end up with a negative number. It's essentially saying by doing this whole process and by not having to farm the characters over the course of 80 days, we're actually adding 3,339 crystals worth of value to our account. But again, this doesn't take into consideration the materials that we're using to relic up 4LOM and Zuckuss. Now, an argument can be made that we're going to relic up those characters anyway, right? It's just a matter of what we're relicing them up to. Relic 5 is probably the baseline for an account my size. Any endgame player is probably taking everything to Relic 5 and then stopping there. Unless the character is usable, which the use of them remains to be seen, right? But so Relic 5 is a given. There's no expense associated with that because that's what every character is going to go up anyway. Relic 7, the case could be made, is what we're going towards with Relic Deltas. The new floor seems to be like Relic 7. If we want to use the character against certain counters, if we want to use it to counter Relic 8, 9, 10 characters, then we're going to have to take it to Relic 7. Okay, so if that's the baseline and that's the given, then I'm not really spending a ton by taking them to Relic 7 for the purposes of this air battle. The only question then becomes whether or not it's worth it to take them to Relic 9. For me, I get value out of Relic 9s based on TB, Territory Battle, and having those characters able to do that. Then we're also going to have added value coming because of Relic Deltas. Because of Relic Deltas, those characters are just going to be stronger at those Relic tiers. Now, again, it remains to be seen what they can counter, but by having them at R9, I will assure that I'm doing at least full damage to Relic 9 characters. And to the extent they can counter something lower than that, then it may be useful to have those characters a little higher relic, okay? But ultimately, I have the materials. I'm okay with spending the materials to go ahead and get this type of deal associated. 38,000 crystals for 38,000, 40,000 worth of value once you consider the marquee farm, right? So at the end of the day, it's a little bit closer to a break even. You can decide whether or not you want to do that. I personally want all the era battles on farm because I do think they'll come back eventually. And this analysis is only taking into consideration 10 era battles. Every single era battle that we get over this is going to increase the value of this, right? So I'm kind of going to be making more value as time goes on, assuming those era battles come back at all. That's ultimately my goal. I'm at a stage in the game where every single thing that gives a reward, except the Vandor special mission, I have on farm mode. That's my goal. I just want all of that stuff on farm mode. You may have different goals in the game and you may not want to spend these resources because you want to save for relic delta. I don't think there's anything wrong with saving for relic deltas and just seeing what the economy looks like afterward, making sure that you have gear and whatnot for your relic 10s and all that. I personally don't care about PvP that much, so it's gonna be what it is. For somebody not caring about PvP, I did go 6-0 in 3v3, so I'm pretty happy about that. But nonetheless, I'm not making investments solely for PvP. For somebody that's more focused on that, you might get more value out of saving those relic 9 materials for, say, Drogon or Ezra or Padawan Sabine Wren, even just, you know, some of those characters that are used in those high GL squads that are going to see diminished value at their lower relic levels come relic deltas. So that's something to consider as well. But if you're like me and in this situation where you've been hoarding crystals, hoping for an era, you didn't do it on the Pirates era battle because of all the nonsense that happened with those, and you got 78,000 crystals or somewhere close to it, and you're just going to be increasing your crystals and you figure you might as well spend them, this is a potentially good option. The way I kind of see it is I'm spending the materials for 2 relic 9s and then I'm getting 5 relic 9s in return, essentially, right? Because of the break even. So that's maybe a faulty analysis some of you don't agree with, but the important thing to keep in mind is these were all based on my values. You may potentially have different values, right? So when we go back over to the spreadsheet real quick, look at all this stuff. You need to put in your own numbers here because I don't value most of this stuff at all. Some people, even if they're in my position, might have different uses for this stuff and they might value this stuff higher. Maybe they're not doing as well in the crate, not the crate raid, the Order 66 raid, right? So they place a higher value on things that they can't get as easily. If you start putting crystal values in here, this changes drastically. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and edit these numbers a little bit, still being very conservative according to their crystal value, but you'll see how the numbers balloon up like crazy, okay? So Chirotex, we're getting rid of gear. This probably aren't going to be unless you're a newer player, new to middle game player. Finisher, same thing, right? Omicrons are valued a lot higher if you're doing Ultimate Journey. If you're doing the Ultimate Journey, then this value is 500 because you're already paying that value for it and you would pay more for it, right? Some people are hurting for Omegas, especially if they're more to mid-game accounts. They missed a lot of the early days where we were getting Omegas. So these are valued at 80. I don't think anybody's spending 80, but if you put it just 5 on that, right? Zetas, I said people spend 250. Those are currently in the weekly shipments for 250 and people bought them at 250 a piece. Carbonite circuit boards, 3.5, right? If you buy the relic amplifier packs, I think the relic amplifier on there is 12 crystals per bronzium wiring. Nobody's paying for chromium transistors. Nobody should be paying for heat sinks. Electrium conductors, let's put it at even 25 crystals per electrium conductor. I know a lot of people that would pay for that. Zinbittle data cards will do 30, right? Just a little bit more than electrium conductors, okay? And then some people buy signal data directly from shipments, but I'm not going to do that. I'm still going to keep the 80% that I pay in Jawas, basically, right? But if you were to up these values, obviously things will get a little bit nuttier, right? Okay, so those are those values. Now Droid Brains should be full price. People would definitely pay for arrow magnifiers. They cost 250 in the crystals. We'll do 100 essentially here, because if you're not maxing Order 66 raid, these are harder. I mean, you have to spend them on both arrow magnifiers and impulse detectors, and in some case electrium conductors, right? So if you're in a hurt for arrow magnifiers, these go up in value. And then what else do we have here? Keypads. It's hard to say that these are worthless. It's all your gear 12 finisher stuff, but the economy is probably changing and we're getting a little bit more access to gear. We're just going to put these at 1/5 of their cost at 50 crystals per, right? These we already put at 100. Let's make sure this is updated. This was 30 above. Gear, we're going to put valueless. Shard shop currency, valueless. Omegas, we put at 5. And then credits are worthless too. Okay. So when we go ahead and look at the numbers now, oh, we got some more things to edit here. In another spreadsheet, these were all tied together. They're not here. 12 and then 0, 0. Okay. So now the numbers have drastically changed by applying just some value to all of these things that you get, right? Not my values. These are somebody else's values. But suddenly doing the 2 marquees and doing the air battle with only 10 air battles gets you 61,000 crystals or so value, and you're still spending the same value to 7-star the marquee. So suddenly the actual cost and like the actual value that you're getting added on your account is closer to 27,000 crystals worth if you value that stuff. This is how a mid-range whale, for example, like somebody who's still in the mid-range, 8 to 9 million GP, but they don't mind spending on the game, could easily take advantage of this to add a ton of value to their account early on. All this stuff is going to boost their account, right? It doesn't do anything for me because I have all the characters developed, but for somebody that doesn't, they're going to get immense value out of taking advantage of these era battles. Now, I do have to caveat, this is all subject to change. I don't think it will, but if CG takes these 3 things out of the last tier, then things are going to drastically change. But that all remains to be seen. We just have to go off what we know so far. And if they pull the rug and they take that value out, you can best believe I'll be making a video outgoing about that and explaining what they did and why they should be held accountable for it. But to the extent that they haven't done that and that we have no evidence that they're going to, we got to make decisions now because the marquee is live today. And if you want to take full advantage of it, you want to go ahead and go over there and hit those tiers. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start our path to 4LOM and see if we get lucky with our shards. Now, I've already bought the episode pass like I said I was going to, so this will get me 20 shards. So we'll start there. Let's do the first tier. You know, actually, let's go ahead and we know we're popping a 12 pack. So I'll just get the 12 pack out of the way and we'll pop that off bat. Where did it go? Did I pass over it? Here it is. This is the surge pack. This is the best deal for shards if you're going to get them. So you want to go ahead and pick this up first, and then you will fill out as you need. You want to get to 6 stars, 10 out of 100 today, in order to make sure that you have 7-star 4LOM by the end of the week, by the end of the marquee event. So without further ado, hopefully we get a great pool and we save ourselves some crystals. Yeah. Buy it. I already clicked it. Now you could, if you think you're going to get lucky on a huge pool, you could do the 5-pack instead and potentially save yourself some extra on the 12-pack. Obviously, I'm not that optimistic. So we're looking for above a 7 and we don't want 5s. Okay, so far 7 is the most common pool. This hurts. We need to make up for those 2 shards. 7, more 7s. Oh, this is going to hurt if I'm like 2 shards short. More 5s. Ouch. Can I get 1 pool over 7? I don't think I'm going to do it. Ah, that sucks. Okay. So let's go ahead and take that. And we're going to go ahead and go over and start doing the event. Activate that. Go ahead and take them all the way up. Come on. Confirm there. Take it all the way up. Promote. Boy, this client is not working too well. You see the animation, it's clicking. There we go. And then we gotta upgrade all this, which CG is supposed to be getting rid of. So we won't have to do this for new characters. That'd be very nice. Just a reminder, make sure you have all the gear and relic materials hoarded to do this, because if you can't take them to R9, you're not going to get the full value out of it. Almost there. Come on. I mean, we're taking the relics regardless, so. And we can do that now with less than 7 stars. Great change, by the way. Even though it feels like for a lot of people it doesn't affect anything, it does. Take those up so that hopefully we can get through the marquee event quicker. Only omegas. I can spend omegas with no issue. The only fear about this is that there's some weird strategy where having no ability materials on that ability not upgraded makes it better or something. But they've really been trying to remove all those cases from the game, and so far they really have. But time will tell if something sneaks its way in. Boy, a lot of abilities on this guy. Bounty hunters are always this way because they got the payouts and stuff. Whoa. Okay, hold on. I'm not doing Zetas yet. Good thing it asked. That was close. Not like I don't have enough. Okay, so now we go ahead and go over to the marquee. Run through that. Oh, do we get a hint of the strategy or what they want us to use? We got Cad Bane, which I suspected. Aura Singh, they just made a little change to make her better. It's possible that Aura Singh is on the squad. Zam, I don't actually see being on the squad, but she does have a GAC Omicron that speeds everything up, so she's a candidate. And then Embo, probably not, but his Dispel's nice. He does do a lot of damage, but yeah, I think ultimately this will be Bosk and Zuckuss, and then Aura might be on the squad. Dengar. Cad Bane actually provides a lot of value, so. Alright, so this episode quest should give me enough currency to go ahead and get the 20 shards from the episode quest. Let's take a look at that. Character quest. I mean, these will do too. There we go. Then we'll go ahead and pick up our 20 shards here. And we can collect all this because I am not near the cap. Let's go ahead and do this tier. You just want to make sure where you're at before you start buying shards from the individual packs, because it might be worth it to go ahead and get the 5-pack. But it's always good to get a good idea of where you're at so you can do the math rather than just trying to do it all in your head. So we get 10 shards from that. We'll do this one and get another 10 shards. Then we have to upgrade and do another tier, and that'll give us another 10 shards. I mean, it makes sense that all the rebels are here because the Empire Strikes Back, but I wonder if they are hoping that it'll counter certain rebel teams. I don't know what it would be countering. Let's see. Okay, so we're a bit ways off. We're gonna go ahead and get some more here. He made his way into the Jedi Temple to take down Ezra and Chopper. We got the Omicrons there, that was nice. Okay, and then once we get to 6-star tier, we'll go ahead and unlock this tier as well. So we need 55 shards. Well, 45 shards because we'll get the 10 here. So we need 45 shards. We have a lot of work to do. Go ahead and buy the 5-pack from the shop as well. This would be 6,000 crystals. So yeah, just about that 19,000 crystal mark. 6,000 here, 13,000 on the earlier one. Hopefully we get some luck here. Come on. 7, 5 again. Oh no. Hey, we got a 10. That does not make up for it though. Okay, unfortunately we are just a tad bit short in terms of our crystals to go to the next tier. This can happen if you get unlucky, but I mean, obviously the other way can go better if you get lucky too, right? So we're short 9. We're gonna have to buy potentially 2. So this does eat away a little bit at the value there of the air battle, but oh well, we're already this far in. All right, that's how they get you. Come on, give me 10. Oh no, I gotta buy another one. Okay, now we can do it. Okay, so we'll be a little bit over. Hopefully we get some better treatment with Zuckuss, and that'll make up for the difference. This was also a change that helped when they were doing the era battle earlier, right? So for example, if they do the era battle next week before Zuckuss gets here, we could potentially get Zuckuss shards, which cuts down on that 19,000 crystals that we need to go ahead and get him to 7-star. So that's something to consider. It's more of a holistic view rather than just an individual one. And then if they wait until after Zuckuss, obviously, then you get even more value because you get 2 more era battles with the last tier available. So something to consider. There we go. And then we should be at 15. Let's see. 10 more puts us at 15 out of 100. So we'll get 90 shards total from these, and that'll put us at 7-star 4LOM at the end, and then we'll see if we have an air battle next week, and I can make a video on that and let you guys know how it is and whether or not it's possible with just a relic 9 4LOM. Okay, everybody, hope you got value out of this video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this, and go ahead and hit the notification bell so you know when it all goes live, and I'll see you next time. Bye.